Okay, Jason.
Thanks. Oh boy, I'm nervous, y'all. My name is Jason Weiner, and I'm here with a call for cooperative renewal. I've been a membership coordinator at the Food Co-op for over 15 years. In that time, I've seen immense change in this organization. The co-op has evolved in so many ways. When I first came on staff in 2009, we were just in the process of phasing out using paper index cards as our primary method of member record keeping. Now, in contrast, we've just launched a new database that will better communicate with our online member systems. We've been upgrading our inventory programs to provide members the most accurate prices and easier item searches, which also give the receiving staff the most up-to-date information for stocking and ordering products. But as many market improvements as we've seen over the last 15 years, as membership has increased tenfold, there's been one essentially unchanged piece to our co-op: the general meeting. There's not much of a difference between how we ran our meetings in 1989, when we had around 1,700 members, and in 2020, pre-pandemic, when we'd expanded to 17,000, or where we are now, which is around 16,200 members. With all the efficiencies we've developed over the years, we have not taken the time to look at and improve our governance systems. Basic changes that most organizations have taken on, we have yet to undertake, because we are trapped in an infinite loop. We frequently lose knowledge and return to the same topics again and again due to our collective failure to use all available methods to share information. Part of that has to do with the way we have the general meeting structured. But why should this and this still be the same as this? When the co-op was in its first few decades, the town hall format worked for the membership as a small community. It allowed enough people to have a voice. When membership was under 1,800 people and 20 members showed up to a meeting looking to participate, that 1% meant fewer than 1,800 people's voices being left out. The board, the chair, and the participating members were a more balanced triangle. As we grew at an astronomical rate, our focus was on how best to serve members outside of the meeting. Our attention was devoted to getting food on the shelves and people working their required shifts. But now, if just 1% of members attend the meeting, that's leaving over 16,000 members without a way to participate. The same percentage has very different consequences at our current scale. Democratic governance should involve all members, but our system doesn't come close. We have tried to increase member participation in the meeting by giving work slot credit for attending. Even then, we averaged less than 300 attendees through most of the previous decade leading up to the pandemic. The attendees were a consistent mix: members just here for shift credit, the small group of devoted fixtures, and those only interested in a particular item on the agenda. Because of the way our system works, items up for a discussion, like this one, will have a completely different group of members present when or if the item eventually comes up for a vote. The members basically have less than 45 minutes to decide on how to vote unless they've taken the time to do their personal research on the topic. In many instances, there isn't even a way for members to get access to the information if they wanted to. The meeting minutes usually aren't available because they have to be approved before being published. The Gazette article summarizing the meeting sometimes comes out after the vote has already taken place. But even if these sources were available, they often lack the nuance of discourse, of relevant supporting or contrasting information, due to the limitations of time and no clear set of communication guidelines. Members at the meeting wishing to speak often don't engage in the most humane ways with each other. They are curt, they are loud, they cut each other off. Democratic governance should not be limited to a time and format that prevent full participation. Because we don't have a consistent group of members participating in the initial discussion, we often get the same questions repeated ad infinitum. With no consistent knowledge base, we go in circles on items. Because of the way we share information, many members don't even know an item has come up for discussion or vote. This is one of the most common complaints we hear as staff, and to me is the most frustrating. An informed membership is a healthy membership. Because we are limited by space restrictions and time, members will never get a filled-in picture on any topic. It will always be an amorphous mass of emotion and a lack of discourse and fact. The game of telephone continues in true pseudo-democratic dysfunction. Our existing model is inherently inequitable and inhumane. It's time for all members to be heard. So that gets to the crux of why I'm here tonight. We've gone leaps and bounds in creating a stable membership labor system. We're constantly evolving the co-op to give you the best experience we can as a shopper. We now have an opportunity to update this space as well, become a model of cooperative decision-making and inclusive engagement instead of being presented to the world at large as a mockery of democratic processes, stymied by a set of archaic rules that don't honor the individual voice. If our goal is to be humane, collaborative, equitable and accessible, and democratic, then we need to evolve our meeting systems. If our goal is to be humane, first and foremost, we need to take a deep, long look at how we want to communicate with each other. I come to this meeting with a profound sadness on the way we interact here and across the co-op. This goes from the introduction to the meeting all the way through to the dismissal at the end of the evening. These meetings carry the weight of suspicion from all parties that some in this room have ill intent. The reason a town hall format initially worked for the GM was because the belief was we're all here to cooperate with each other towards a shared goal, to come together as a community and engage with the best intentions for the betterment of all members, regardless of our personal beliefs. As we expanded, more and more the space has become about taking sides instead of building knowledge and consensus. We're certainly not the only organization who has dealt with these challenges, but we have never taken the needed steps to prioritize empathetic interactions and an expectation to all bring our best. We need to make the effort and take the time to regain each other's trust. 2 simple steps address this in the short term are to establish community agreements and a code of conduct. Both of these practices are base standard in even the smallest organizations. And while these are existing examples on this slide, the process of developing our own can be a rich and meaningful one with potential positive repercussions on many levels. If our goal is to be collaborative, then our next action item should be addressing the base format of this meeting. We have created a system that tries to achieve way too much in a 2-hour and 45-minute format. We share information that should be quickly available to all and instead get stuck behind the formalities of an almost 150-year-old rule set. This meeting can be reformatted to actually facilitate discussions and allow access to all members, regardless of time constraints, location limitations, or technological needs. We can explore alternative to Robert's rules that embrace the uniqueness to our organization, changing the meeting configuration to a representative community of members who are committed to listening and learning brings new voices and knowledge to the table. It elevates the importance of the meeting assembly and helps balance the responsibilities of the chair and the board and creates an opportunity for more humane interactions instead of reactions. We can spend more time building knowledge instead of responding instinctively. Incomplete pictures of problems create incomplete solutions and answers. By making the meeting a space to develop ideas and build consensus, agenda items can go a few ways. Bringing an item to the collective co-op's attention with no direct intent to move it towards a vote, basically information sharing. Bringing a discussion item that after consensus review is determined not to move forward. Bringing a discussion item that after consensus review will require more development with general membership discourse before being brought to a general membership vote. And bringing a discussion item that after consensus review can move forward to the general membership for additional discourse and voting in various accessible channels and forums. If our goal is to be equitable and accessible, bringing additional discourse and discussion out of the meeting allows all members to participate. No one will have to say that the information isn't available or they weren't told something was happening that they couldn't get to the meeting because of the time or location. Parents and those who work nights will be able to get information on their own time frame. Neurodivergency requires us all to think about how everyone accesses and processes information. there is no single format that works for all. Changing the meeting format is also an opportunity to use technology in a way that not only facilitates information, but broadens its accessibility exponentially. Amplifying concepts that C.J. Glacken and Morgan Vo brought with their proposal, and Elizabeth Tobier also highlighted, we should be using technology to allow everyone access. The best ways to increase meeting access, rather than focus on our time and money on Tuesdays at 7:30, is to reconfigure the meeting to a format that's formal, compact, and a discussion group. This eliminates some of the hiccups we encounter with attempting to maintain larger meetings. By making our maximum attendance with chair, board, staff, and presenters around 100 people, we open up our ability to use smaller spaces. We have been incredibly lucky to often find spaces that will accommodate our meetings. But as the years have progressed, it's been more and more difficult to find a space that's neither too small nor too expensive. We've been incredibly fortunate to have access to the picnic house at a generously reasonable rate, with all the benefits it offers. But over the years, we've had other long-standing spaces suddenly become unavailable. We should always be prepared to pivot to a smaller space while we are relegated to using the facilities of others. I'm not going to go into the details here of how we can make discourse and discussion more equitable, because as I've said many times before, if you've heard me speak on this subject, there are lots of great minds out there in the co-op membership. One of those minds is Yejia, who has already committed a huge amount of thought and energy to a system that would allow members to actually talk to each other. This is a system with unlimited potential, a way for new community engagement on various topics and information sharing, not just items related to the general meeting. These systems could be a bridge to bringing back many things that we lost during the pandemic and cultivating new opportunities to collaborate. By making simple video and audio recordings of the general meeting, we can utilize technologies such as AI transcription, translation, and summarization, and give near immediate access to all members with different needs. Significantly, this can create opportunities for new co-op member work, where we can verify the accuracy of those services, using the technology as a tool rather than a replacement for human labor. Our goal as an organization is to maximize member participation. Making these types of upgrades would actually allow us to fulfill that mandate and get one step closer to having the opportunity for every member to not only vote on important co-op issues, but to have their voice heard. Currently, our archive meeting minutes are not presented in a usable format. Using AI to develop an index would allow members to easily find info in the minutes. Having a compiled history of decisions and why they were made would keep members informed and from submitting similar agenda items. If our goal is to be democratic, then the next step is to bring all votes to the full membership. Modifying our voting systems means we never have to worry about space or time limitations. Supporting transparency and inclusion means bringing everyone to the table and the voting booth. By giving universal discourse and knowledge building access to the co-op membership, instead of forcing the membership to come to this room, we create the opportunity for members to engage on their own terms and time. If true cooperation is true democratic participation, it's time to embrace that each member has a unique voice and vote. We'll never be able to achieve that without taking the primary voting system out of this meeting. So that brings us to everyone's favorite topic, work slot credit. We know that's the way to create engagement, giving credit. I don't support it, but I understand it. If we're gonna spend time, money, and labor on these systems, we need members to engage. By making the consensus group a new work slot as opposed to a one-off, we create a consistent group of informed members invested in the process. The majority of the group would be compiled by a randomized lottery of people who have opted in based on availability. The group could also include members who have retired and those who cannot fulfill standard work slot responsibilities, helping to build a more representative model of the full membership. Members participating in the consensus committee would receive 11 work slots, assuming they attend every meeting. Missing 3 consecutive meetings would disqualify a member from participation in the committee. an alternate member would be invited to fill the remaining meetings of the season. And for the general membership today, to create engagement in the post-meeting resources and exercise their voting rights, any member who participates in all votes or discourse in a meeting season would receive 1 additional credit. These are just some of the examples of the improvements we could make. A soft reset to a governance system that doesn't take the time to process all the ways the co-op has changed over the last 50 years, but especially the inherent and collective trauma of the last decade and a half that I've been present for. This brings me again to why I am here tonight. The only way you are able to hear my thoughts is by me holding the stage with this item. The Gazette only allows anyone to say so much. The only way I was able to get these words to you was to go through an almost year-long process with the Agenda Committee. I spent my vacation building this presentation. I spent way more time than the 40 hours a week I get paid by the co-op thinking about how we can make this meeting more equitable, accessible, and humane. I have to take time away from my family to participate in this meeting, but I don't get to decide when or where that happens. I have to do it here if I want my voice to be heard. I'm not the only one in this position. There's almost 100 staff members who have lots of information that I think is useful for members to have. But if we want to honor and protect our personal time, our families, our lives outside of the co-op, we have to choose to be inaccessible. I think that's a flawed system. We can do better, so we can be better. We can be humane, collaborative, equitable and accessible, and democratic by coming together cooperatively and transparently. I'll be making this presentation available online so you can share with those who are unable to attend this meeting. If you've got questions and comments, I'm also making available a contact form where you can share your thoughts with me. My responses may be brief, but I appreciate your thoughts and suggestions. I will be using all the various information I collect to help me create my actual proposal. My plan is to come back to the meeting with a set of action items that we could implement immediately and a formal proposal for a short-term governance advisory committee. I need to take a moment to thank my wife and collaborator, Rachel Posner. She helped me refine my thoughts and for all her amazing skills building this presentation with me. Before we move on to the Q&A portion of this item, I think it's also worth mentioning that I am extremely introverted, and doing this is causing me intense stress and anxiety. My passion for change and growth may appear brusque or robotic or pissed off in my responses, but trust that I am listening, and I apologize in advance if that's how I come across. It's not my intent. My intent is to help make this place better for all of us and to regain in all aspects of this organization its defining cooperative spirit and voice. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. All right.